let me present you what I've been practicing about, which is Robert's last name. So Robert is joining us from Splunk, and he'll be talking about Taskflow. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome Robert Pająk.
Hello. Very well, thank you.
All right, could you share your screen? As you're sharing your screen, I will tell a little bit about the description of the talk. Most projects need some build pipelines for local development, continuous integration, deployment, and so on. Using only Go build or Go test is often not enough. And in this talk, we will see the reason why Taskflow was created and how to use it.
Okay, so you told almost everything. Thank you. So basically, maybe before I start, I ask you to interrupt me, ask questions if you like. I prefer to be interrupted than because I know that when people are waiting for questions, they might be, I don't know, shy at the end, not to lose the time, or you may even forget. And I have even this almost the whole talk will be like a live demo without very big preparations, because that way I feel a little bit stressed and it's more energetic. So also keep this in mind. Maybe also because of that I will be not too fast, because usually I'm too fast. And yeah, so basically really just interrupt me if you have any questions or concerns if you do not like something. Okay, so here's the hyperlink. It's recorded, so I think it might be useful if someone would like to have the presentation afterwards. So I put it here. So here's an agenda. So first I will talk just a few words about myself, so you get my context, and maybe my background will make you easier to understand why I have created this library, which this talk will be about, which is Taskflow. And then I will just make a live presentation of, and I'll just create something using Taskflow. And at the end, remarks and Q&A. So yeah, that's me with my family. COVID times, so the photo is a COVID one. So basically, my background is highly C#.NET. I'm a guy who knows a lot about Windows, and really a lot because I was even writing a anti-ransomware tool for Windows. So basically, I started developing in Go like 2 years ago. I really prefer Go right now than C# because of its stability, simplicity, etc. So I could talk probably very long why I prefer Go than C#. The other thing that also probably fits why Go fits me well is I like kind of believe and try to follow in extreme programming, which means that I try to follow TDD. I try to make stuff simple and approachable and maintainable for everyone. And I try to do automation, kind of love automation. And right now, since February, so 1 month and 10 days, I started working at Splunk as a senior engineer. And I'm now in a team who is helping developing OpenTelemetry. If I don't know if you heard about OpenTelemetry, it's a very interesting project. And at the same time, I know that Splunk is hiring. And even after 1 month, I can encourage you that it's a good company, and if you're not happy with your current work, you can take a look at the positions. Okay, so why have created Taskflow and what the talk is about? Basically, as Natalie said in the beginning, when you have some complex project or even something that is not a hello world, you usually need some kind of build pipeline. When you run your linter, execute tests, integration tests, I don't know, maybe kind of automate the release, etc. And basically, in my opinion, the build pipeline should be as less coupled to the continuous integration server as possible, so you can also port it somewhere quite easily. So I try to keep the logic or the most important stuff in a way that you can run it on your machine. So I try to look at when I started using Go, I wanted to look what are the possibilities to create build pipelines in Go. So the first one, for example, which you can see in the Go repository, the Go language repository. So basically, there are some shell scripts, and there are some. I think there are some Bash. The second, I think there's really just bat. I don't think there's PowerShell there. but I know that some guys are automating the builds using Bash and PowerShell. There's also PowerShell core, which runs also on macOS and Linux. But basically, I do not feel personally that shell scripts are great for build pipelines, because you do not have any notion of things like targets or dependencies, when you can just, for example, run some, I don't know, some single step of the build pipeline. You will need to do everything yourself. And the other problem for me with Bash and PowerShell is that you need to learn another language. So I think that the most popular tool in Go for automating build pipelines, it is make, so make files. And I think that it is the standard currently. However, the problem is that when I started learning Go and I saw the make files, it was a lot harder for me to understand make files than Go. It was like, for me, it was like, Go is simple, make files. That was my impression. And I even in some teams, I thought that there were some kind of Linux makefile experts, which usually had C or C++ background, which used makefiles a lot. And basically, these guys were maybe not responsible, but they were the main maintainers of the makefiles. And I felt that for a language where simplicity is like the main value, maybe it's not right. I also took a look at other tools. One is Mage. I don't know if you've heard Mage. So Mage is a framework or tool which magically discovers targets from Mage files. Mage files are just a Go files where you have some exported functions, and it detects them on runtime, and then so basically it's possible to use Go to have some make targets. But I had a problem with Mage. The main problem with Mage is that it's very magical. It means you need to install an additional tool which analyzes the Mage files and then does something. And you need to, it requires it adds an overhead. You need to use, for example, build tags. It's almost impossible to test such stuff. It's not possible to debug, because basically it creates another Go binary by analyzing the Mage build file. So yeah, it's kind of complex, and because of that, there are also some bugs there from time to time. The next stuff which I looked at is Task. So Task is a tool written in Go where you can write the build pipeline in a YAML. It has a shell interpreter inside, which is also written in Go. But it has similar problems like make and Mage. So it's an additional tool. It's hard to debug. You need to learn another language, etc. The last tool which I took a look was Bazel. So Bazel is it's a very sophisticated build pipeline tool made by Google. So basically, it is for me like the next level of Makefile. It's extremely good. I don't know, for complex monolithic projects where there's some dependencies, but it's not something that I was looking for. So that was just like the context, that it's not like that I was not trying to use something existing. So basically, I did all my best to find some simple build pipeline tool for Go, which I would take advantage of the Go maybe values and maybe the Go language itself. So basically, I found this is like this presentation, which I'm like the template from this presentation had 2 slides, which I just copy pasted, and these are this one. So the tenets of the Go design. The Go should be the Go value is simplicity. So each language feature should be easy to understand. I thought that this is something that also the build pipeline should adhere to. The other one is orthogonality, which means that basically when you have some tool or package or library, it should be kind of predictable and similar to other stuff that are, for example, in the Go standard library. So I took a look at the Go standard library. I was looking at them like, basically, it took me more than a year to create this experimental tool. So I basically felt that there are some similarities in build pipelines and in testing, because you run something and something can fail. The difference is that you have these dependencies and stuff. The other stuff is because you have these dependencies, you need to register something. So you have something like the HTTP package where you can, register like handlers and stuff like that. And the third inspiration was the flag package, where we can pass flags, etc. So without further ado, maybe I will just try to build something using Taskflow, and you will see what is the API, and maybe you'll get some feeling about it. But before I start, do you have any questions right now? Or have I forgotten about some tool? Maybe there's something already existing that I'm not aware of. Please feel to speak up. And I will create a new repository in this in the meantime. Maybe let's ignore. Okay, if there are no questions, I'll just start. So as you see, it is a live presentation. I hope that the output of this presentation will be an example repository how you can use a Taskflow. By the way, I don't know, Natalie, please tell me if I will be 5 minutes before the end, so I can interrupt in any moment, and I will just, go to conclusions. I do not have to finish everything. So right now we'll just go to Bash. So first thing that I do on purpose, I develop on Windows. So usually Windows is not a very Go-friendly environment because you do not have make, you do not have GCC and stuff like that. So this is you do not have Bash by default, only if you install Git Bash. But yeah, so I especially tested this stuff using Windows because I wanted to make sure that it's Windows friendly, because I know that a lot of, for example, C# guys right now are moving to Go, and I feel that it's important to do stuff in the Go ecosystem to make Windows friendly. Okay. So before I do something, before I do any pipeline, let's just make anything working. So just make some demo test, Go. And let's just create some package. Maybe let's name demo, and let's make a test function. And right now it should pass, right? So I go test. What's wrong right now? Go mode init, of course. So let me. Okay, so right now it should work. So it's passing. I'll just on purpose make it failing. So if we have something error. So as we will develop something, we'll have at least one target which will be failing. So we have something which we can right now build on top of it. So the first design decision for Taskflow is that it's not a tool, it's a library. So I just suggest to create a folder called build, create a file inside called build.go, and just create a package main. And right now, Taskflow. So I just create a flow or task flow where I will be able to register some kind of tasks or targets, however you want to call them. And at the end, I need to just go get this, right? We are using Go 1.16. So starting from Go 1.16, you need to manually, as far as I remember, I'll just check right that. So we need to add it manually. This is new from Go 1.16. So we have the Go module. I do not know why it is undirect. It's surprising for me. Usually it was like that for me. Let me just check. So I could just like bootstrap the task flow. So I'll just run it using Go run, using like that. So as we can see, it failed because we have not provided any task. So in order to, so basically the syntax is kind of like that you run it like that, and then you provide some target and add some flags, etc. So here's the usage. So let me first create any target flow. So there is a method called master register. And this side you can just register a task. We need to add a name. So let's name it like hello. So we'll first create a hello word. And we'll make a description. So I say hello. And then we'll add a command. So the command, as you can see, this not syntax, declaration is very similar to what you have in HTTP handlers or even for tests. And here you can simply, the TF struct has API like almost identical to the testing T. So you can, I have tested that you can even use stuff like testify, assert or require if you would like to hear. So we can just make some or maybe let's just start it very simple and let's just make FMT print line hello. And throughout now we have information that there is a task hello, so we can just run it. So it printed hello. So one thing which is like you should not use FMT because this is, a standard library which always puts stuff to output. There is a dedicated method which is called lock. And now if you print hello, it will work very similar to the testing package. If it succeeds, you have no output. If it fails, you will get output. So if I now go tf error f or error, we got the output here. And the output looks very similar to the testing package. So you have these equality marks and these dashes, and you have the information how much it took, etc. And in the same way like the testing package, if you run with verbose flag, you will always get the output. So I tried really do my best to have it like the same look and feel as this testing package. So maybe let's go further. We have something, and now let's add something more. Now we want to use something real. So just copy paste it. And I will add a target, which will be responsible for running Go test. So because most of the time when you're writing targets in Go, you're just executing some external programs. So because of that, there's a helper function called TF, sorry, Taskflow exam. Yep. And here we can just put the arguments, like the application arguments that we want to execute. So right now, when we run test, we see that it passed. And if we make it to something's wrong, right? Test, give me a second.
And you didn't say which package, maybe.
That's the problem. Now it's working because this returns a function. So before, what the code was looking like, I was just creating a function but not invoking it. So usually you just run one function, so the helper already returns like kind of handler, so a command. Yeah. So any questions right now? Okay, let's go further. So I usually do a pattern that right now we have two targets which are totally not related. Usually when you have some build, you want to have some kind of pipeline. So in order to do that, we just make flow must register. Let's give a name all, that we execute everything. Description, good pipeline. And then we have a field dependencies. And we need to pass dependencies somehow. So a lot of frameworks usually take strings. I wanted to make it more like, I would say, type safe and also easier from development perspective. So must register returns a registered task. So if I have here hello, here I will have a task. Then I can put them here. So now we can see that both of the tasks had started and the second had failed. Okay, maybe I will just present one last thing here. So because this stuff which I created here is like, if I just need to run Go test, I will not even write some such stuff like that. So just to have some example where you can really see that using such tool is valuable, I will create a task where you use Golang CI lint. So I will create a new task. I will name it lint. Golang. It was like that, as far as I remember. And now it will be a little more complicated, but I hope not that much. So if you want to run Golang CI linter, we need to do two stuff. First, we want to make sure that it's installed, and second, we want to run it. And I prefer to do this stuff in one task, just to be sure that some other developer, for example, will not forget to install the latest version if the project has moved to the latest version. So first, I will need to find what is the current version of Golang CI lint. Are there information here how to install? Let's get it here. So now, because we'll be executing more than one command, I will not use the Taskflow exec, but I will use a helper function called command, which just returns a command from standard library. But the difference is that it already has the stdout, stdr, and context connected with the Taskflow pipeline. So if something will, for example, if someone will press, for example, Ctrl+C, the context will be propagated and the task will be it will be killed, and also you will get everything in the output in the console. So I will just run go install. And I use go install because it's a new feature from Go 1.16 that you can go install a concrete version of a tool. So this returns the command, so we need to run it. We'll assign an error. If the error is different than nil, then we just do it as we usually do when writing tests. Go like so. And now I will run go like clint.
5 minutes heads up.
Already? Okay. So I will finish this one. And then I will quickly maybe just show a few stuff. So now we can see that we have some information that something is wrong. Unused result here. So probably if we do something like no link here, it will stop complaining. And now we see that the test failing. Okay, so before maybe I go back to the presentation, just a few properties that, in my opinion, makes using this library kind of good to use. It is just because it is a normal Go program. You can run and debug it. So when you have any problem, you do not have just to manually write some stuff on bash and try to just debug it, run it again. You can use your debugger and analyze the stuff, which for me, for complex stuff, it's very helpful. Also, you can write unit tests. There's a dedicated type called Taskflow runner, which you can use just to run one concrete command and test. So if you want to write some helpers, etc., you can use it. Also, because it's a normal Go, these are normal Go functions. If you want to make some reusable stuff, you just make some module. You just create a repository, and you can import it here and use it, and you can take advantage of Go modules. So you do not have to make stuff like, I don't know, Git sub modules or fetch some stuff using curl to get some additional, reusable makefiles, for example. So for me, it makes a lot of stuff simpler thanks to the Go toolchain. So I will go back to the presentation. Any questions to the code here, maybe before I switch back to the presentation?
There's one question I can read out.
Sure.
How does it interface with running other languages? For us, we hit problems when running our JS code with Bazel and had to get creative to make it work. Is there already support for that, or would it be considered?
Give me a second, I will just maybe read it. It will be easier for me. It's in the chat, correct? how is the interface with running other languages? So interface with other languages basically is just, this is just a Go program. So you can run here like Node.js, whatever here. And Node, I do not remember Node. I was doing Node like 2 years ago, or NPM, like NPM build or whatever. So basically, with Bazel, you had to get creative. Basically, you need to do a lot of stuff yourself. There's no like helpers for Node, for Go. I didn't want to make it too big. I prefer to make it small and simple. Jessica, haven't I answered your question or not really? Can you write it or speak up? Okay. Okay.
For the recording, it says, thank you, it's great.
Yeah, I'm reading, thank you. I'm just trying to read other questions. Is there any tool which hard to refresh, reload, or change? So that's a good question. Umair asked if there's any, or I will do it like that. Is there any tool which hard reload on change? I think that which we can use to reload or refresh on change. So basically, because this is a a Go library, there are Go libraries which do stuff like when I don't remember right now, but there are two tools that one is from Mage. There's a target package which checks the input, like some folders, if it has changed, and it uses some cache, and if it detects that it has changed before last time, it can run something. So this is one package that we use. And also there are some kind of Go libraries that are using this refresh reload that you can just watch on some kind of folder or file, some pattern, and you can execute some stuff. So in theory, you can use these packages just to create some target that you use during development. So you can create a target, a task which will be named, for example, like live build, and it will just run very, very long until you Control C, until you just interrupt, and it will, just run under whatever you want. Umar, have I answered your question or not really? Or do you prefer me to write it down later?
Yeah, I get it. Thank you.
Okay. Is it possible to run dependencies parallel? So the thing is that Mage has this support, and I explicitly didn't want to do it. Why? Because it's very hard. It's even hard to synchronize the output. That you do not have, the outputs between one and task, so you will have to buffer everything. So even the algorithm to make it good will be complex. This is one reason why I haven't implemented, because I'm lazy. And the second reason is I never needed it. A lot of tools that you use are parallelized inside. So if you use Go test, it tries to use your machine as much as possible. Go build the same stuff. Go linter the same stuff. So if you run it in parallel, I will say that you simply wait longer for all of these tools, and probably you want to get the output from one tool as soon as possible. But in theory, you can use, you normally just Go routines inside your command here. So you can parallelize inside one single task, but the tasks themselves are not parallelized. If you want, anyone can make a PR for it, but personally, I do not see a really use case for it. Clapping applause.
I guess looks like there's no questions. So first of all, any more questions? So thank you very much for giving the talk. You are on the Go for Slack, right? You're always able to answer questions there?
Yes, I'm good for Slack. So just trying to click through the presentation if there's not anything more that may be helpful. Yeah, please feedback. You can write on me on Slack. If you think it's good, you can start the project. If you think it's bad, you can write to me, whatever.
You can respond in the Berlin Slack channel so that people will easily find you.
Yep, correct.
Super. Then thank you very much again.
Thank you.
Now